Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we are looking at the Armor Bot, part of the. Oh shoot! And I'm gonna probably mess this up. Was it the Sky Patrols, something like that? Um, so the Armor Bot was first released in the United States in 1993 and included the pilot General Hawk version 4. The Armor Bot was unfortunately discontinued in 1994. The funny thing about this is around the same time that we had gotten a short-lived BattleTech cartoon, and kind of based off of the 3049, 3050 era ish. Actually, I guess it would be 3050 because it was right after the clans had attacked. Um, so we get a kind of crossover here. And oddly enough, I don't really remember who had made the toy molds for BattleTech for the cartoon. I don't know if it was Hasbro or Mattel or whoever else. I do remember picking them up and actually still have them here today. But this is G.I. Joe's first real big foray into that whole genre. And in some regards, it's a little goofy, but in others sense, it does make a lot of sense here. Okay, so we do have a shooting arm cannon and Robo Claw. I don't have any stats for the Robo Claw. I'm just leaving it as it is. Realistic robot voice and electronic lights and sounds. So getting into this, here is our General Hawk version 4. They do have him as a chunky kind of person. I don't know if that's an armored suit or what they really want him. Star Brigade, which is what this is. Now, my mind was, I remember seeing it, but my mind's just, I get in front of the camera and it just blanks at times. Okay, so the Star Brigade armor tech suit that he's wearing for being out in space, being chunkier. I don't know the size of the character or the figure. I don't know if they had increased the size at all, but he's definitely a wide character there. Um, Getting into this now, the pictures that we have to us from GIJoe.com, it shows our arm off on the left side with the claw. The right arm kind of comes down to a cannon, very much like what we have for the Mauler. A little bit different connector here for their own design. Now, interestingly enough, the picture shows 6 missiles on each side, so I call them six packs, as well as the arm mounted cannon. But seeing that we're shooting missiles out of it, which is just a big feature for the time, I just left it as a six pack um, missile cannon for the arm, giving it the cannon name, and then it's six pack missile launchers on the torso. There's two of them here in the front, and it's kind of based or balanced on the chin of the head. Kind of an odd way of putting it, but it is a turret, and I'm considering that as more of like a lighter weight tank cannon, maybe like Cobra's 80 millimeter or something like that. Now we do have three different turrets here per se. We have two twin cannons, three twin cannons, one on one side and the double on the other, and they're all kind of, but kind of not linked. So I just figured that they're three separate cannons, um, and just kind of going from there. And then we have one smaller one. Now that to me, I'm going to guess is going to be more like an anti-personnel. So think of it like having an M60 up here and whatever lighter cannons for speeder scale you want to call it. If you want to call these 50 calibers or something like that, along those regards. Maybe even heavier than that, but you get the point. Uh, Oddly enough, we do have enough room in here for two different characters. We can get two figures inside. On the back, we have a handle so you can kind of move it around. As you can see, the feet are connected together. It does look like there's supposed to be some wheels on the bottom, so it can kind of roll a little bit, giving it a little bit extra playability here. Because this is all, the legs are just a solid piece, trying to make sure it doesn't fall forward. Some of the things I learned in doing the Legos You want that flexibility to be able to move the joints, but unfortunately, whenever we do the joints as a toy, those are also weak spots. So if we get too much weight in one maneuver, the whole thing topples over. So it's a fine balance there. It really kind of is. All right. So on this side of it, we get to see our two double um, speeder scale laser cannons. That's the way I'm kind of listing them here. Um, and then a nice top-down view. Let's see here. What else do we have? And then we have another one where General Hawk version 4 is on the claw arm. Nicely balanced. Whoever did all these pictures did a really good job at doing it and very good taste. Um, and then we have the cockpit here. So there are supposed to be two seats in here. I'm going to guess it's a front and back. Just seeing it in this view, I don't know exactly how they're sitting, but I'm guessing it's front and back. Um, it doesn't look like there's enough room for two figures in there, but it's supposed to be enough room for two figures. All right. This is the main one I was using for trying to come up with our stats here today. We get to see Hawk in his armor, get to see all the guns firing in different positions and so on and so forth. So it gives a little bit of fun and excitement and all that, especially for kids and for all of us here. Um, we have a little write up here. It says five electronic sounds. Let's see, crushing. Yeah, I'm having a hard time reading that. On my screen, this is still kind of small. I can read just a little bit of this, but it starts getting too small for me to read. Now, if you guys are looking at it on a big screen TV and you want to pause this so you can read this, by all means, it's just that it's a little too small for me for doing that. All right, and then we have all the nice stickers to go on to this, as well as the instructions for trying to put all this together. Now, this is going to be what the back and boy the legs and the way that kind of all fits together. Now, you can look at this same setup because we've used this in many different designs. George Lucas with his ATST, BattleTech with say like the Locust and the like, and the Jenner, and of course now we have it here for the GI Joe Armor Bot. Uh, it's a tried and true, just kind of nice self um, standing leg method. Having the chicken legs like that, it does kind of work. It leads to the possibility of getting a little bit extra speed out of that, whether it does or not. You can guess on your own. All right, so looking at this, now we do get to see the picture here. Cockpit assembly, there is a second jump seat behind it. That first seat is the primary, and the second seat is kind of hidden back there. So it might be a little bit of a challenge trying to get a Joel in the back seat there, but it does have that second seat. And then last but not least, we start to see well, it looks like we have one more picture, but where to place all the stickers. And then the final one is our specifications. The rocket guns, pivoting laser rifle, electronic uh, battle command center, rotating six-shot arm cannon, reserve rocket storage, which I just kind of considered them as rocket launchers of their own. Um, Armor plated wheel treads, opening computer cockpit holds two GI Joes, laser proof armor plated body shielding, and battle grip cyber claw. Uh, like I said, I was kind of going off of the picture that we have here, if I can get back to it. Really, where we get to see everything kind of going. Now, we don't have the missiles actually launching out of the chest, but I kind of figured that they'd probably be their own. And this is more of a cannon. We have room in the back, so I figured it might be kind of like a BattleTech theme where it's a self reloading missile launcher system, and kind of going from here. Having the claw, yeah, it could do damage, but on the other hand, and maybe I might add it in here real quick. One of the things that's always been kind of said with a lot of the BattleTech, giving the mechs hands allows them to not only do combat but also to kind of help rebuild afterwards. Um, you look at it in that secondary aspect of we have these big machines that can do harm, but on the other hand, it's also nice to be able to say afterwards we can help try and fix things. Give it in some regards a gentler view of it, but it's also the recognition of you know even though that we can destroy lives with it, there's also that kind of helpful hand to say we can help lives with it as well. Um, Kind of like if you watch uh, Thor in the from the MCU, where they talk about the Warhammer being a wonderful tool because yes, you can fight with it, but you can also rebuild with it. Um, so that same premises of we can not just be a strong arm to help keep things right in the world, but we can also be that soft hand to help rebuild and shape the world into a nicer place to be. So, taking it from there. All right. Um, let's see. Variations. The blue and the gold plastic parts could be found in various configurations. Some all blue, some all gold, and variously mixed. Let's see. I think these are same turrets that they've used in different sets or whatever. So that's probably what they're referring to. And going from there, unfortunately, we do not have an original price for this, so I can't tell you what this originally cost way back in 1993 and 1994. And honestly, I don't remember how much it cost me for my own BattleTech ones. I will say I think the Mauler, which is probably about the same size as this, although the figures were a slightly smaller scale, I want to say I think that was about like $30 or $35, which I still thought was a pretty good bargain, being a fan of the BattleTech franchise as well. But I never saw this. I was surprised because I was when I saw the Mauler, I was in the Army. So keep that in mind. There in 1994, and I happened to see it, and hey, my dumb butt being still this oversized kid, I had to have them just to pick them up. And the funnier thing is, I would have sergeants come into my room, and they would still have to fire the cannons because I mean they're spring-loaded cannons, so it doesn't matter the age of us guys. We still want to shoot them and just have a little bit of fun. Uh, it's just how we are. All right, with that, let's get on over to our stats and see how we are today. All right, so looking at the armor bot here, being at Walker scale. Now I have this roughly about 30 feet tall. We do have the one pilot and one gunner, no passengers. Cargo capacity, I kind of kept that at 50 kilograms, and we're going to have this at full coverage. Now, this is going to be ground based for the most part. Now, I don't know about this having any jumping, although when we do look at the suspension on the legs, it does have a view that it may have a jumping capability. But there again, I really don't know. I haven't seen this in a cartoon or anything to say what it may or may not have for that possibility. So, just kind of leaving it at that spot here. Okay, getting on down to our maneuverability is going to be a 2D. I didn't change that. That's kind of a holdover, I think, from the last vehicle we had. Um, Movement speed. I'm having this at about 45 miles an hour. Um, at a full out speed, maybe 45 miles an hour. That might be too fast. I don't, you guys can change it if you need it. I think I'll keep it at 45. Um, make it what you need it to be. Body strength, I have this at 3D. Remember, this is at Walker scale. Weapons, we have the two six-pack missile launchers. This is front in the torso. Now, granted, the toy looks like it's holding like three, maybe four missiles in each uh, side here. But I have that as two six-packs of missile launchers. Um, and we're going to do 7D worth of damage for each missile. Okay, that's at speeder scale. Now we have three dual repeating blasters. These are head turrets. These are the one on the right side, the two on the left. Speeder scale again, fire control is 2D and damage is 5D. Now then we have a repeating blaster, the top one on the right side. That's going to be a personnel scale, like I was saying, maybe thinking like an M60 or something like that. Fire control is 2D. Our damage is 5D. Now, we're going to get down to our heavy blaster cannon. Now, this is a front turret. I believe this is our chin mounted one. I just left it as a front turret. Walker scale, 5D damage with a fire control of 2D. Then we have our 6 missile cannon. That's our right arm. Walker scale, doing extra damage here. Fire control is 3D. Damage is 7D per missile. And I just added in here our Cyber Claw for our left arm, Walker scale, fire control is 2D. Our range is whatever we can reach. I'm not, trying to make it any extra range here. And our damage is going to be 5D with the claws. So yes, we could kind of dig into vehicles if we so wanted to, trying to go from there. An interesting vehicle, a starting foray into some of the mecha that we get, and I know that we get more later on, some smaller ones and the like. Um, I think this is where we really start seeing a shift in the United States for having more robotics into uh, kind of the world in general, military, science fictional military, and stuff like that. Um, and things are evolving. Now I know that over in Japan and that they've been having robotics since the 80s, but that was all more science fiction. Science fiction. GI Joe being a parallel version of what our world is and where things are going, and advancing to say, hey, we are out in space more. It does make sense for it to start transitioning to having some of these. Um, so going from there, it you know it's a general progression, right? All right. With that being said, thank you so very much for joining me today. It's always wonderful having you here. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're still enjoying the series that we're doing, and I will see you in the next video.